from the day when the Communist Party was founded in Australia, they have always said that the real objective of industrial action, of power in the trade unions, was political power, to overthrow the government of democratic states.
Gerard, as it happens, has just completed this whopping book called Santamaria, A Most Unusual Man. Gerard, welcome. It's been a while.
It has been a while, Philip, but I've come back and I hope you like the flowers and the chocolate.
I was going to leave this till much later in the discussion, but you did finally have a falling out with Bob.
Oh, well, the truth is that Bob Santamaria fell out with a lot of people. People like you in the end he was very fond of, and he ended up, although he didn't know you, but he was comfortable with you. He ended up reconciling with Clyde Cameron. He ended up reconciling with Bernie Taft of the Communist Party and many others, Jim McClelland, of course. But if you had been close to Bob and you had disagreed with him 5 or 10%, and then you fell out, he didn't reconcile with many of those people. I did invite him to interview him for my book Australian Answers, which came out in about 1990. But
you interviewed me for that. That's when we used to be friends.
Well, I think one day, Philip, you never know. But if you like the chocolates and stuff, it'll go well. But yes, I did interview for that book. I asked Bob if he'd be interviewed for the book, and he declined.
Okay, you write that in his own words, Santa went political in the early 30s. Place us in the context of the time. What were the key issues that would have sparked his interest in the 30s?
By the time you get to the mid-30s, Bob Santamaria's essential concern is the Spanish Civil War. And from my point of view, I mean, look, he was never a great fan of Franco. I mean, many of his opponents said he was, but he wasn't. I can't find any positive statement that Santamaria ever made about Franco. But he was very concerned about the plight of Catholics in the Spanish Civil War at the hands of the anarchist and the communist. And I think his position on Spain was essentially correct. And the communists were going after the Catholics. They were killing the priests, the brothers and the nuns in Spain and others.
Many readers will be surprised when they come across your assertion that while Franco was a ruthless dictator, he was not a fascist.
Well, I think this is a view generally held by historians, that he was not a fascist. He didn't align with Hitler. And he ran a pretty ruthless, authoritarian regime.
Guernica comes to mind, Gerard.
Well, he didn't align. Well, I tell you what also comes to mind, Philip, because of your background in the Communist Party, you'd be aware of this. I mean, the Nazi-Soviet pact occurred between 1939 and 1941, and all the communists in Australia lined up behind Hitler. Now, Santamaria never lined up behind Franco to that extent. Now, Guernica occurred. I understand the Spanish Civil War was a dreadful civil war, and as I point out in the book, there were atrocities on both sides. But in the end, for whatever reason, Franco, unlike Stalin, did not go with Hitler. Spain remained neutral, and I quote a number of prominent historians in the book saying that the decision, including David Price-Jones, who's not a Catholic, the decision of Spain to remain neutral was very important to the Allied victory. So whilst I'm no fan of Franco, he was a brutal dictator, but the alternative to Franco was probably a more brutal dictatorship.